welcome to my channel Networking with Neaz Arefin. In this video, we are going to configure a combined server and we are going to add 3 roles as AD DS domain controller, Active Directory domain service. The second one will be DNS, but DNS is automatically installed with the domain controller installation because AD DS relies heavily on the DNS. And during the AD DS installation, we will be set up the DNS server role, which is crucial for the domain functionalities and for the DHCP configuration as well. And I'll try to make this video as concise as possible. That means this video will be very much task oriented rather than elaborative or descriptive. Now let's get into the server. So this is the Windows Server 2019 version. This is the IP address of the server 10.1.10.19. It's a /29 mask and the default gateway is 10.17. Keep that in mind. Default gateway is also the default route. That means to exit out of this subnet, it will always go to its default gateway, which is the gateway 10.1.10.17, which is the same subnet. The IP block is 16 to 23. This is the IP block, and this is the switch configuration in this port Ethernet 0/1. No switch port. That means it becomes a layer 3 switch now, which is routable, and then 10.1.10.17, and the subnet is 248, that is /29 mask. That means we have reachability to this layer 3 switch. In our lab, this is a collapsed core switch because it is working as the core layer and the distribution layer. If you also notice in the network adapter configuration, the DNS server is given as 10.1.10.19. That means routing to itself. So keep that in mind. We are also going to promote this server as the DNS server. It will be a combined server of AD DS, DHCP, and DNS. And we have used the Google DNS resolution as the secondary. What I meant, if you see it in the graphical view, that's what I meant. This is the primary DNS, which is this server itself, and that will be the secondary DNS. This server can ping to the real internet, as you can see. Also, the server can ping all the VLANs. We have VLAN 10, 20, 30, and 40. And to give a very high level overview of how the routing is working between the VLANs and this server, if you see, the server and the VLANs are in 2 different subnet or VRF. So there must be some routing between them, reason why there is ping reachability with the power of the default route. And if you see the network adapter configuration in the VLAN 10 PC1 is the IP address is 10.10.10.11. So the way the VLAN network has been designed for VLAN 10, it's 10.10.10, VLAN 20, it's 20.20.20, and likewise for VLAN 30 and 40. The default gateway is 10.10.10.254, and 10.10.10.254 is configured in the HSRP protocol in the Collapsed Core Switch 1. The Collapsed Core Switch 1 and 2 has the default gateway for all the VLANs. So here is a very important thing, guys. You really need to understand how the HSRP protocol works and why the gateway has been designed as 10.10.10.254. In my channel, either you can see my video how to configure HSRP, which is this one, how to configure HSRP, or you can search in the YouTube how to configure HSRP. There are tons of videos they will show you. And what is this virtual gateway? So the way the routing is working between this server to the VLAN clients is any traffic initiated towards the server, it is going to the core switch 1 first. They do not know directly where the server is, but they are going to the core switch 1. Since it's a directly connected interface, I'm saying directly connected interface because this is a layer 2 switch. It has nothing to do with the routing. So core switch 1 knows exactly where 10.1.10.19 or the server is located. Based on the routing, it's forwarding this route here. And same way, when this server is receiving a ping or echo request, it doesn't know directly where this VLAN 10 is hosted, where it is located. So it's forwarding that traffic or ping reply towards its gateway, which is again this core switch. And since it's again directly connected and core switch 1 exactly knows where the VLAN, it is forwarding that ping request to that VLAN 10 back. So this is how the routing is working. For any reason, if there is no routing between the server and the VLANs, then what we can do, we can create another VLAN in this core switch 1. And since there is SVI, switch virtual interface, is already configured in this core switch 1, there will be routing between VLANs. Now, if you have questions about how the SVI works, switch virtual interface, then you can again do some Google research, or in YouTube, you will be easily find it out how SVI works. It's basically for a layer 3 switch. When you configure a VLAN, the moment you assign IPs, since it's a layer 3 switch, it is capable for routing. Now let's get back to the server manager. which is this one. I'll hit to the local server. This is the current name of our server, and the current state of the server is in work group, not in a domain. Now before we start up, we need to keep that in mind that this is not a paid server. This is just a cameo image inside the EventG. So there will be a lot of misconfiguration, a lot of things will be broken. We'll have to continue deploying and configuring our servers regardless of these mistakes and misconfiguration. Unfortunately, this is the limitations of a non-paid server, but keep that in mind. We are just testing. This is only for learning purpose. If you see here, status unknown, we cannot update these servers. There will be a lot of misconfiguration, a lot of errors. We'll have to disregard that. In the events, you will see a lot of errors, 8198. Your case, it could be different, 1000. There are some errors that is saying about the storage violation. So we'll have to disregard that. Now let's take a look of our requirements. So there are a couple of requirements and it may arise as we move forward. As of now, the requirement is kind of this. We must have an organization name. Nexatech Solutions. It is just for testing purpose. I just made it. I named the organization as Nexatech Solutions. To match the naming convention, I'll keep the root domain name as nexatech.local. In your case, it could be .org, .com, .net or .something. But the reason I have used .local, that means it's for testing again, and also .local means the outer world won't be able to reach out to this .local domain. It is completely unreachable from the web. This .local is only within this EventG lab. We will name our domain controller as ntech-dc01. DC means domain controller. Again, we have tried to match the naming convention with the organization name. Number 4 requirement is we'll create a fresh new domain admin account and we'll name it as nxtadmin, and the password will be test123. In the server, we can verify with this command that we already have a administrator account with this name, but we'll create a fresh new one. And as of now, the 5th requirement, the server's IP address must be a static IP address, 10.1.10.19. It is a /29 must. And if you see here, it is exactly a static IP assignment. If you see DHCP enable, it says no. Also look at on the DNS, statically configured DNS server 10.1.10.19. Let's begin. So in the server, we'll first create an admin account, and for the credential, we will use the name nxtadmin and password test123. So we'll go to the tools and then computer management, local user, users. We'll create a user first, new user. In the password section, I'm going to put password never expires because I'm a system admin. I don't want to change my password frequently. Next, I'm going to add the user that I have created just now, nxtadmin, to the local admin group. Now with the help of the tsdiscon command, I will see if I can log into the newly created nxtadmin account. And after logging in with the command $, then env clone username, we can see under what account we have logged in. And now we need to change the name of our domain controller. Our requirement is to name the domain controller as ntech-dc01. Now we must restart our computer for the name change. Let's wait for a few minutes while the computer restarts. Now we are logging into the newly created admin account nxtadmin, and we are going to verify the name change from this account. Now we can see the name has been changed for this combined server as ntech-dc01. Let's configure the domain controller or the AD DS first, and then secondly we are going to configure the DHCP to assign IPs dynamically within this network. Here might be a question why we are deploying AD DS or domain controller first, then we are integrating DHCP later on. Because AD DS uses DNS name resolution services to locate domain controllers and then facilitate the communication between them. For the clients, it is important to find and connect to the domain controller in the network. Without the DNS, the domain controller would be unable to function properly within the network infrastructure. And DHCP depends on DNS for resolving domain names. So without having a DNS, DHCP2 will not be able to function properly. So let's start now. We'll go to the dashboard first and then add roles and feature. and then hit next. Role based and feature based installation. Next, I'm going to verify that in the server pool, the server parameters are correct and as intended. Now in the server pool, I should verify that the server parameters are correct and as intended. If you have multiple servers here, in the pool, it should show up here. In our case, it is the ntech-dc01. Hit next, and now we're going to add the Active Directory domain services, and it is verifying that I'm adding all the features associated with it. I would say add features, and then I would hit next. I have a couple of selections here, Windows Defender installed, and then these features. I'm going to basically leave the default, but I have group policy management here as well. I will hit next. Now watch carefully here. It is giving me a high level overview of the purpose of having AD DS, Active Directory Domain Service, why we need this, and then things to note here. I should have at least 2 domain controller for redundancy. If one goes down, then we have the second box, which we'll do it later maybe. That is the reason we have added here. So our plan is to do a redundant server later on. And then it's saying that I should also install the DNS server. As I said before, without the DNS, Active Directory won't be able to fully functional. We would hit next. I'm going to leave the default and then hit install. We'll have to wait a few minutes here. So basically it's telling me what is installing here. Active Directory Domain Service, Group Policy Management, Remote Server, Role Administration Tools, AD DS and AD LDS tools, Active Directory Model, etc, etc. And now we have successfully configured our DC01. Now we need to do our post deployment configuration. Now I need to promote this machine as the Active Directory Domain Controller server. I'm going to hit promote this server. By default, the server is assuming that I already have a domain and I'm adding a additional domain controller. I'm going to hit add new forest. By the way, to simplify that, in a forest there could be multiple domains. So it is asking the root domain name. Simply I can put my name here, but there are some naming convention through Microsoft. In my case, we are going to put nexatech.local. So why we have chosen to put nexatech.local? Local means for kind of lab testing, like sandboxing. And then we are going to hit next. I would keep the forest functional level to the latest version, which is 2016, so that any new technologies or any new features coming up, the functional levels are not outdated. Same for my domain functional level. Now you will see this domain controller is going to be the anchor of my DNS. Also, this will be the primary location for the global catalog for my Active Directory. Now here I have to give a directory service restore mode password. I can leave the default password as test123. This is only for recovering. And then I'll hit next. Now it's alarming me that I don't have any DNS right now, and it is asking me to create a DNS delegation to a different server. But we don't need that because we are going to create the DNS here in this server. So I would hit next. So the NetBIOS domain name is a network name used by the NetBIOS network protocol. Nexatech.local, but the limitation is it does not support any special characters like dot, and the maximum character it supports is 15 character. So this Nexatech is generated automatically. It has shortened due to its limitation, and basically it pulls up all the uppercase. So nothing to be worried. I'll hit next here, and these are the locations where all the settings will be. I'll leave the default. Next. And I now have the summary of all my configuration that I intended. Now, by any chance, if something goes wrong, and if I want to deploy that again from the beginning, it's a lot of time that we invested. So what we can do, we can hit view script, copy, and now back it up somewhere so that later on we can simply go to the PowerShell and execute this command and deploy by itself with the PowerShell execution. Here I'm going to hit next. Verifying prerequisites for domain controller. It is verifying if my machine is compatible all that service that I'm requesting for. Now here you go, we got the check mark. Now if you notice, as we said before, there's a couple of amber and some kind of alarm here saying delegation, DNS delegation. And then Windows Server Domain Controller has a default security settings named blah blah blah. But the most important thing is that I get the check mark saying all prerequisite checks passed successfully. Hit install. It is still installing. Now it's saying you're about to be signed out. Well, we can see that it's applying the current settings while rebooting. It might take a little bit longer time, so wait patiently here. And now we're ready to log into our newly created Active Directory domain service. We can click other user here, and now you see this is the NetBIOS name. That's the network name. We talked about that earlier. Now I'm going to log in as the administrator I created there earlier. Remember, it was this NXT admin, and then the password was test123. Let's see. Yes, we are logging in now. So let's see what's the difference now. If you see, we have a series of new tools here, AD DS, which is this one, and it says online, which is most important. We have a couple of errors. As I told you before, it's a virtual simulator, but recall what I said earlier. I'm working within a virtual emulator, which is EvenG. On top, it is not licensed, so there will be a couple of errors, misconfiguration and etc. We have to work around. If you also notice here, we have the DNS now, so both were installed in the course of that configuration. If I hit to the local server, now if you notice, it is also promoted as the domain controller. It is no longer under the work group. If you notice, domain nexatech.local, and by the way, that was our intention, nexatech.local as domain. If I also take a look here on the tools, now I have some series of more tools here which we don't have before, like Active Directory Administrative Center, then Active Directory Domain and Trust. We also see that we have sites and servers and users and computers. We also have the DNS. So let's verify our DNS first. Here is my DNS manager. I'm going to be ins and out in the DNS manager a lot. So let's paint to taskbar and then let's see what is there. But before we do anything, just keep that in mind. It has installed a DNS, but that doesn't mean it has been validated as well. It is us who has to validate it manually. That means we have to verify the A record, we have to verify the forward lookup zone and the reverse lookup zone, and a couple of other options to validate our DNS. So here is our DNS. So let's figure it out what Active Directory has done when it built a DNS for us. So here, let's take a look on the forward lookup zone. I have my DNS forward lookup constructed for me already. A record stands for address record. It maps a domain name to its corresponding IP addresses. If you have a domain name called youtube.com and if you have a IP address like 100.100.100.1, it is going to link that IP address to that domain called youtube.com. So what we see here, the domain controller ntech-dc01 has been added to our DNS properly. If we click our SOA, which is a start of authority properties, this is our primary server, ntech-dc01.nexatech.local, and then if we hit name service, it is a qualified name server for this environment. This is the IP address of this server and it is fully validated and everything looks okay. We'll hit OK and it is already added the host name for me. Awesome. So let's now figure out what it has not done for us. Hit in the reverse lookup zone. See, we don't have any reverse lookup zone. We need to understand what is reverse lookup zone though. It is the complete opposite of the forward lookup zone. It translates an IP address back to a domain name. And the record type here is PTR, pointer record. So as we see, there is no primary reverse lookup zones here. Using this DNS, it might be a problem later on. So let's configure a reverse lookup zone right away. I'm going to hit new here, new zone. Next, it's going to be our primary reverse zone. Next, now look at the options here. I now have the options to replicate the scope. This is going to automatically replicate all the other DNS that I have in this network. For now, I don't have, but you never know. In future, I wish to create a redundant server here as well, so I might need that. So I will choose to all DNS servers running on domain controllers in this domain. I'll hit next now, and this is IPv4 reverse lookup zone. Next, and the IP address will be exactly this IP address. We don't need the last octet, 10, 1, 10. It automatically created a name here. Next, allow only secure dynamic updates recommended for Active Directory. This option is available only for Active Directory integrated zone. That means when I'm adding new devices into this machine, it is going to automatically create a record for all the added devices inside the DNS. I'm going to accept that. Next, finish. Now let's verify that what we have created. Here is my option here. Let's hit on the SOA, start of authority. Let's verify all the information. That's the SOA. Let's take a look on the name servers. Let's verify if it is validated. Edit. No, it's not. So I would say resolve. It says OK. Now hit OK. Apply. OK. Now let's go to our DC01 and fix the point of record. Basically update it. What I have done now in terms of the reverse lookup zone. And we are going to open that up. Update associated pointer record, PTR. Hit apply. OK. Done. Let's refresh it. OK, OK, apply, OK. Here you go. So let's do a quick recap what we have done so far. In this environment, we are deploying a combined server as AD DS, DNS, DHCP. First, we have installed the Active Directory service here. Later on, we promoted that as a domain. We changed the name. We have created an admin account with this. Our static IP assignment was 10.19 with /29 mask. Our DSRM password was test123. During the installation of the Active Directory service for nexatec.local, we instructed that we also need a DNS. So it installed a DNS service for us, a domain name service for us. In the domain name service, we verified that we have the forward lookup zone, but we were missing the reverse lookup zone. So we have created a reverse lookup zone. We have updated our point of record. We have validated our reverse lookup zone and forward lookup zone. Let's kill two birds in one stone now. We are going to configure our DHCP server and then integrate with our existing AD DS. So hit dashboard, add roles and feature, hit next, role based and feature based installation, next. In the server pool, we can see that we have only one server at this moment. We'll keep the default. Next, I'm going to hit DHCP server, add features along with all its management feature. I'm going to leave the default, hit next, next, and install. Let's wait for a minute. All right, that was pretty quick. Hit close, close. If I notice here, the DHCP is here now. Let's click here now, complete DHCP configuration. It's the same as we saw earlier. We have to, complete our configuration by creating some security groups. Next, if you notice, it has detected my domain credential. Now we can relate better why do we have to create the DHCP later, and first we have to install the DNS and Active Directory, because it has automatically directed my domain credential and it is very much crucial. This is the administrative credential that we are going to use to manage and monitor our DHCP server as well. We are going to hit commit and then close. But watch carefully here. It says creating security groups has been done successfully, but the authorization DHCP server has failed and the error code is 20070. Now there could be a lot of reason behind the authorization failure. We can troubleshoot it later, but for now we'll skip this server authorization failure and continue creating the DHCP scope. Once the DHCP scope for our VLANs is done, then we can jump in to do the necessary troubleshoot to authorize our DHCP server. I always welcome any failure or error as a challenge, because the more troubleshoot you will do, the more you will get to learn. So anyway, we'll do this troubleshoot later on. Let's configure the scope, tools, and we have to look for DHCP. Here is that. So let's create this scope now. So we need to create 4 VLANs. VLAN 10 is for IT. This is the range 10.10.10/24 mask. This is the exclusion. The start IP from 10 and end is 24. So our first 10 IP is excluded. Length 24. There you go. So basically this is all. So here we'll click here, IPv4 and new scope. Next. So name will be VLAN/10/IT. Description will be the range. So I will say 10.10.10.0/24. Next, starting IP. Remember, we have been given a requirement to exclude the first 10 IP, so I will say 10, 10, 10. So this is our starting IP from 10 and ending in 254. So basically the first 10 IP is excluded. Our length is /24, which is class C mask. This is the subnet. Next, I don't have any exclusions, so I'll hit next. This is the leasing time where it should renew the IP. I'll leave the default. Next, and then I'm going to say yes, I want to configure this option now. Next. Now be careful here. The gateway is a little bit tricky for us, because remember, we have created HSRP protocol here, and inside the HSRP protocol 10.254 was our virtual gateway. In our step 7 part 2, in every VLAN we have the .254 as our virtual gateway, and we need that. This is for the redundancy. So by any chance, if switch 1 goes down, the packet will go to the virtual gateway first, which is 10.254. When it will see that this switch is down, packet from VLAN 10 will be immediately routed to the core switch 2. It's pretty simple. So we need to put our virtual gateway here, 10.10.10.254. Once again, this is not our actual gateway. The actual gateway for VLAN 10 was 10.1, but we must have to put the virtual gateway because we are using HSRP protocol. Add next. It recognizes my existing parent domain and it's saying, hey, do you want to integrate this with your existing domain? And it recognizes the IP address, which is this one. I would say yes. Next. No wins involved. Next. And I will activate now. Finish. And if I click here, this is our first scope. Let's create the other 3, which is 20, 30, and 40. It's going to be very similar, so I'm going to fast forward the video. And here we have finished creating all our DHCP scopes. Alright, let's now verify if our DHCP is really working. So let's power on this machine, show IP. If you notice, there is no IP address as of now. So if I type IP DHCP, alright, we cannot get IP assigned from the DHCP server, and basically the DORA protocol is not working. So I went to the VPC and I was trying to ping this server 10.1.10.19. It says host not reachable. So I went to the core switch 1, which is here, and I type show IP helper address. When I hit show run, I should see that IP helper address in every VLAN, but it was missing everywhere. So I need to get into each VLAN to give the helper address. So configuration T and then interface VL10 and then IP helper address I should route to here. Basically I'm saying that, hey, this is your DHCP server. For any DHCP query or any DHCP request, go to here in this server 10.1.10.19. I'm going to do fast forward. Let's verify now. Here I have the helper address right now. So any of our client machine from this lab will not be able to find DHCP server. Reason why the DORA protocol is not working. It is saying can't find DHCP server because it is not been authorized yet. So we got to go and fix that unauthorization problem on the DHCP server. So let's log out from the server and log back in to do a fresh start. Logging in as the domain controller admin. If I log in through here, that's a local admin. This account NXT admin was created before promoting the server as the domain controller. In short, if I log in this server using NXT admin account, that means simply I'm logging in as the local admin. So any administrative change that I will make, that will take effect locally. But for a global and organization wise change, I should log in as this. This is the domain controller and this is the admin login. I think there is some mistake here. So after hours of troubleshooting, we have finally resolved the DHCP server being not authorized. There was a permission issue. So long story short, how did I figure it out? Went to the users and computer, and then I have to look for that NXT admin account. Here, properties, it says here global administrator. I just totally blank out that advertising these things is not necessarily give you the admin rights globally. So I have to go to the member of, and then few things were missing there. These two things, domain admins and enterprise admin. So soon after I add this to security group, my problem was resolved. So I went to DHCP, and now if you notice here, it has this option, unauthorized or authorized. So before I was missing this option because I did not have necessary permissions. Now let's take a look if our PCs are getting IPs dynamically from the DHCP server. Let's see if we can get IPs dynamically. By the way, we cannot ping the DHCP server as of now because we do not have any IPs assigned in this VLAN 20 PC1. Our goal is to get the IPs first. So IP DHCP. Now if you notice, alhamdulillah, we are getting IPs dynamically from the DHCP server. So as I said before, not necessarily you have to do a ping test just to verify we have connections to the DHCP server. If we do not have any IPs, there is no way we are pinging our DHCP server. Yes, we can ping now. Okay, so let's do a quick recap as of now what we have done so far. Number one, we had a collapsed core network pre-configured with necessary routing and routing to the internet. That means this lab was already pre-configured with routing. We did not have to deploy any new routing. We can simply ping to any of this device here. We have high availability failover active standby configured in this two firewall. We also have the reachability to the internet. We have inter-VLAN connectivity through the SVI, switch virtual interface. Then number two, we have not configured any new routing as we have said before because routing is already there. We have configured our Active Directory domain service. Our domain name is nexatech.local and we have promoted our domain controller as ntech-dc01. So this is all our servers, that's what I meant. Our AD DS is ntech-dc01 10.1.10.19. This is our Active Directory users and computer. Number 4, we have configured DNS as ntech-dc01 during the course of the AD DS installation, because AD DS highly dependent on DNS resolution. So this is our DNS server, and our forward lookup zone was already pre-configured. However, we did not have our reverse lookup zone, so we had to create this and we had to modify as needed. Number 5, we have configured our DHCP server as ntech-dc01.nexatech.local, which is here. This is our DHCP server, but our server was not authorized due to the lack of necessary permissions in the account nxtadmin. Number 6, we have tested that our VLAN client PCs are now getting IPs dynamically from the DHCP server 10.1.10.19, which is we have just tested right now. This VLAN 20 HRPC1 can get IPs dynamically from our DHCP server as intended. If we say here show IP, we can see our IP is 20.20.20.10 and /20 from us. And now that our combined server AD DS, which is the domain controller, and the DNS and the DHCP is ready to operate in the production capacity, so we will go one by one to our VLAN clients. In this scenario, we have only 2 virtual PCs, PC1, which is from the VLAN 10, and PC2, which is from the VLAN 40. And from these workstations, we will be joining our organization's domain. Let's do it. In our VLAN 10 PC1, we have the internet reachability, we have verified. There are a couple of ways to rename your PC and join to the domain at the same time. So you can go to this computer and then do properties. Then from here, advanced system setting, computer name. Here, you can change the name you want. You have to make sure that it is matching the naming convention of your organization. And then to change the status from the work group to the domain, you have to hit change and then your domain name here. You can also rename your computer from here as well. So I'm going to do that from the PowerShell. It is pretty easy and faster. We can say add dash computer dash domain name. Our domain name is nexatech.local. It is not case sensitive. New name, and here I should put the desired name for our computer. So since our domain name is nexatech.local, so maybe we can keep the naming convention nx100, and then for the second computer 101, 102, 103 likewise, and then credential, and here we should put our domain credential. This is the domain and this is the domain admin. Then you have to say restart and then force. Let's verify. Add dash computer. This is our domain name, new desired computer name, domain credential, then restart, and I'm forcing to restart. If everything goes well, it will just simply ask me the password for this domain admin account. If something goes wrong, then it will give me error message. Let's see. See, everything looks okay. Here our password was test123 tcaps. Now this PC will restart to join to the domain and to change the name. Well, the PC has rebooted. Now let's log in using the local admin account that was created by default. I am not using any domain account here. We will create eventually. And we can verify from here. We can simply say IP config/all. And here you go. This is our host name, NX100. Primary DNS is this, and then DNS suffix. We can also view it from graphically. This PC properties. Full device name is this. This shows up when you join to a domain controller based on the name. To deep dive, you can go advanced system settings and then computer name, change. Now, if you notice, this is the domain you have joined, nexatech.local. Also, you can go work school. Access Orcary School. This is the domain you have joined. Okay, now that we have joined to our domain, but hey, we don't have any domain user here. We need a domain user who is going to use this computer. As of now, if I go to the management console, MMC, and then file, add and remove a snap-in, then local users and group, add, finish, okay, local users and group, local users. And if you notice, this is our only account, but this user account named user is also the local administrator. So we want some user accounts here, so let's do it. Let's go to the domain controller, log back in. We have already made a shortcuts here. This is users and computer. Then here user, there is no other accounts except the NXT admin. This is a global admin account, but we want to create some other accounts for each department. So this is IT, this is HR, this is accounting, this is sales. So we are not going to create a whole bunch of account, maybe 2. So let's create an account. New user, name maybe John, and maybe the last name is Phil. And just for the sake of easy understanding, for this lab only, I'm going to put which department John Phil is going to work. Sales. Again, nobody does it. I'm just doing it for easy understanding. And it is asking me to create a login name. So his first name and last initial, John P. I'm going to take a snapshot and hit next. I would say password never expires. Password is EST123 EST123. Next. Account has been created. Finish. And I'm going to create another user. New user. Now create another account that will be working for our IT department, and he or she will be the global admin as well. So first name is maybe Emily and last name maybe Watson, and then dash IT. So same naming convention, Emily W. I'm going to take a snapshot. Here I'm going to keep that side by side. Alright, next I will choose the same, password never expires. Since this is for testing, I don't want to change the password in my first login, but keep that in mind when you're doing this for production network. You must select this. User must change the password at next logon. So what it will do is the moment they will input their default password, which you will give it to them, and then immediately it will prompt them to change their password to their desired password. Next, finish. And here in this user OU, I'm going to create 2 groups, new and then group. So group name will be IT, and we will leave the default here. Group scope will be global, and group type is security. And here is a quick overview. Domain local is for multiple domain, and global is within the same domain, used to grant permissions within the same domain. And universal contains users from any domain in the forest. And the group type is security because it has to deal with rights and permissions. However, distribution is primarily used for email services, like email distribution group. We'll hit OK. We'll do the same for cells. New group cells. There you go. Now in the IT, I'm going to add Emily there, or maybe double click, and then member, add EM, and it will look for name. Look carefully here. It is looking from this location, nexatech.local. This is our AD DS, Active Directory Domain Services. So we found Emily Watson, who works in IT. Okay, hit apply and OK. And then on the cell here, double click, member, add, and who was the guy? John Phil, who works in sales, and his login ID is John P. Okay, apply. And remember, as I told before, that we are going to elevate Emily's account as the domain admin as well, like the global admin account NXT admin. So where is Emily? Here you go. Here, member of domain user and IT department. We are also going to elevate her to the domain admin group. So domain maybe, domain admins. Okay, and then add enterprise admin. Okay, apply. We are also going to create some organizational unit here. So in order to create the organizational unit, we need to click to our domain and then new organizational unit. Cells, we are going to go by our VLAN departments. We have HR, IT, accounting, and sales. So we'll create 4 organizational unit here. Okay, new IT, accounting. Okay, and the last one will be our HR. So why do we need to create organizational unit, or in short OU here? Because we can apply different policies individually to each of these OU. Just to give you a short summary, we can implement individual policies here in different OU, and each policy will be individual, and it is not going to be interfered to other OU unless we don't want to. So remember, from this VLAN 10 PC, we have renamed it as NX100, and we have joined to our domain controller. So it should be somewhere here. In general, it is in the computers. Look here, NX100. We can maybe click and do properties. DNS name is this. DC type is workstation or server. Operating system is this. Member of domain computers, which is this AD DS. That's a quick overview. Now, we don't want here. Since this machine belongs to the IT department, we'll move it to the IT here. Yes, since we have moved here, we should do a group policy update from the local machine. But you know, that's a brand new ADDS that we have just created. We do not have any policy as of now, so we don't have to do it, but that's a recommendation. So now here is the magic. I am in this workstation, the VLAN 10 PC. Now I will be logging into this workstation as Emily Watson, because this workstation belongs to Emily. Emily works for IT. So let's see what was Emily's information. Emily Watson, IT, right? So I can use this one, Emily W, and then at nexatech.local. This is not case sensitive. Now I would be able to click other user. See, this is our domain, and I will be logging in as Emily Watson. So Emily W, and then our password was TEST123. I guess I have to put the domain information as well. nexatech.local. Let's copy this and hit sign in. Yes, now I can sign in. Since it's logging in as the first time as Emily, it might take a few minutes. So now we have logged in as Emily Watson, but we can also verify from the PowerShell. You can see Emily W. We can say echo and then $env/username Emily Watson. And remember, Emily is also the domain admin. So if I go to PowerShell again, run as administrator, now Emily can run this PowerShell as a administrator, but this will not be happening for the other guy who is working for the sales, John Phil, because he is not the admin. Now let's get into this sales workstation that is for John Philip. We are now logging as the local user here. This is not a domain user because this computer has not joined to the domain yet. So for John's PC to join to the domain, let's do it graphically, because for Emily's PC we have used the PowerShell. So from here, properties, advanced system setting, computer name, change. We are going to make NX101 computer, and the domain name is nexatech.local. And if everything is okay, then it is going to ask me the credential for the domain administrator. So it says it cannot connect to the domain controller. Let's find it out why. It is extremely necessary to do a ping test before we join to our domain. Ping 10.1.10. And there you go. So we are doing a troubleshoot why this VLAN 40 PC cannot ping to the domain controller. We are doing a trace route from the ADDS headed to this PC. So we see that this is coming and this route is up to here, 10.1.10.17, but from there it is lost. So it can ping here. So a packet headed to this PC is coming up to this part, but from here it cannot go anywhere. Same way, a echo request headed to the ADDS, which is 10.1.10.19, is going here, 40.40.42. I'm not recognizing this. So let's see how this is going for the VLAN 10, this ITPC. So first it is going 10.10.10.1 to the actual gateway, which is here in this Collapsed Core switch. And then from here, it is directly going to 10.1.10.19. Okay, so the question now is why for this PC, for John Philip, it is going to 40.40.42? Because if that's the case, then for Emily's PC, it should also go to 10.10.10.2. Let's figure it out. I think we found it. Why? Because during the VLAN configuration in the core switch, this is our VLAN 40 gateway, 40.2. This echo request is not directly going to the core switch 1. It is going via the core switch 2. And I'm quite sure from the core switch 2, we don't have any routing towards the ADDS. From the Collapsed Core switch 2, I cannot ping to this IP address, neither the ADDS. If you see it's not pinging, because I don't have any routing there. We have to add a static route. So let's figure out where is our static route. Show IP route. So this is our static route, default route to 10.1.10.19. So this is our static route, 10.1.10.9, this way from the core switch 2. Since this design is active standby, we have to route everything to the primary one. When the primary is down, this route will be automatically diverted to the 10.1.10.10, which is there. So do not get confused. Anyway, we need to add a static route towards the ADDS. Let's do it. Clear screen. So IP route 10.1.10. What is the IP block? The IP block is 16 to 23. So 16 is the network ID. We have to call the network ID 16. and then the subnet. The subnet will be /29. So the subnet will be 248, 255, 255, 255, 248. And where should it intersect? 100.100.100.1. Let's do it. Now, if you notice, I'm in the PC2, VLAN 40. In this PC, I have the ping reachability right now. Let's do it again. So the static out was missing. We have saved our configuration. Let's see if I can do it from the PowerShell running with administrative mode. Same command, add-computer domain name nexatech.local. I'm verifying again. The name is correct. Here's the mistake here. Let's see now. I have verified that the user account is a part of the administrator, so I'm not sure why it's not joining to the domain controller. Okay, when I hit the details, it says the error was DNS name does not exist. So let's take a look. What is the DNS? ncpa.cpl. Okay, here is the problem. Hit OK, close, yes. Now see that the adapter information got changed. It is now nexatech.local. That means it is not joined to the domain yet, but it has the same network. So I would be able to do it now. There you go. Alhamdulillah. Now let's see if we can log in as John Flip. See, this is the domain. So previously it was not able to contact to the DNS. Remember, this is also our DNS server. So previously it was contacting the DNS resolution of my primary router. The physical Netgear router that I have, it was using that DNS resolution. That is why it was not able to locate where the AD DS is. Since I gave the new DNS information, this DNS has the record where our domain controller is. So the moment it found the entry in its record, it joined. So let's log in as John Flip. Other user, JOHNP, and then at nexatech.local, and then the password was TEST123. Alhamdulillah, everything is resolved. Since it is logging as John Flip for the first time, it might take few minutes. Now if you see, I have logged in as John Flip here. Now John Flip does not have the same elevated rights as Emily Watson has. He cannot run this PowerShell in administrative mode, and he cannot administratively change any settings in this local machine as well. If he attempts to do that, let's see what happens. Run as administrator. See, it is asking the administrative credential. Here we can use our domain administrator's credential, which is nxt admin, and the password is TEST123. Now this PC has the elevated rights. So John himself cannot do any administrative change, but if he informs the IT department and if IT guy agrees to help him, either they can do it by remote session or do it physically. Since this workstation has just joined to the domain, we should see some new entries in the OU. So in the computer, we have now NX101. Previously, we had NX100. That was for Emily Watson for VLAN 10. So the newly joined computer is for cells, and that is for John Phil, and it should go to cell here. In the same way, since couple of workstation has joined to the domain, so we definitely see some entries in our DNS record. Let's verify. So this is our DNS manager. We have expanded the DNS server, and this is our forward lookup zone. This is the domain name. In general, we should see the A record, and here should be the IP. VPC 2020-2010, which is this one, 10.10.10.10, which is this one, and this is for the server itself. So this has not got updated yet. Maybe it's gonna take some time, but it will do it. So in the server, I'm doing some GP update force. That means if there is any policy, since this PC has newly joined, it will push the policy right away. We can do the same in the client PC, GP update force. Computer policy update has been completed successfully. And this is the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions regarding this lab or in general, please leave your questions below and I will try my best to answer. Also, if you find my videos are helpful, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you.